Chief of Mission, Minister, Consular, Republic of Afghanistan.
Well, thank you so much, first of all, for that very generous introduction that was given about me. It was quite long. I appreciate that. Let me begin by thanking the leadership of this great college, Father Martis, and your colleagues for initiating this first International Students' Day. I was told that this has never happened, and so many students have participated in this event to making it happen, including Afghan students who I was told this played a leading role, and I greatly applaud that and encourage your participation and your leading roles in events like this in the future. Cultural cooperation is, I think, an issue that is the key to bringing what is already an interdependent and shrinking world. It is through cultural cooperation and people-to-people contacts that the great minds of the world, I think, which belongs to the whole of humanity, comes together in institutions like this to share experiences, to study side by side, to take exams, to research, and to make discoveries and inventions like electricity that Thomas Edison, invented decades and decades ago, and yet today we're all benefiting. This is what is cultural cooperation about, and this is what this great college is doing with the support and participation of its very qualified students, including Afghans. And of course, one of the manifestations of cultural cooperation is education and higher education. It is through education that we have, come so far from where humanity used to be, let's say, centuries ago. Especially over the past century, we have come a long way, and it's through higher education. And countries that are at peace and countries that are trying to stabilize with the support and cooperation of great countries, great cultures, great civilizations like India. So we'd like to thank the Minister of External Affairs of India, ICCR, for continuing to grant thousands of scholarships to Afghan students to study across India, including at this prestigious university or college. And I had a very good discussion with my colleague from ICCR, and I requested him to consider increasing scholarships for Afghan students to study at St. Joseph College, which Father Maris and I discussed this morning, and he said that he would be glad to take more Afghan students if ICCR and the Afghan government increase the number of scholarships. And I look forward to working with the ICCR and Delhi, and as well as my own government, Minister of Higher Education, to increase the number of students at this great college and soon university. It is also through higher education that we can address the challenges facing our world today. The problems of radicalization and terrorism, as we know all, are threatening our peace and security in this region, South Asia, including, of course, most particularly my own country. I think since the end of the Second World War II, I think no nation has suffered as much as the Afghan people. No nation has lost as many people as we have in defense of our shared values, values that we share with India. Those are pluralistic, democratic values, values that we also share with the West, with the United States, which is also a shared strategic partner. So it's through higher education that we can and we should fight the problems and the threats of radicalism and terrorism, which I had an opportunity to discuss this morning in a lecture on Indo-Afghan relations in a changing world, the way forward. And we had time to discuss this at length and discuss the questions of very engaging students. I was really impressed by the quality of questions I got from Afghan students and foreign students and Indian students. I have given lectures across much of Europe and the United States, more than 30 states. I was really impressed by the quality of questions I got. In many ways, they were more substantive than the questions I used to get in the United States. So I congratulate again the leadership of this great college for excelling, I think, at what you're doing to really train and educate future leaders. And some of the Afghan students I talked last night, and I came across really potential leaders. And Afghanistan, of course, we have a very youthful population. And I'm hopeful and optimistic that once they go, armed with the kind of education and the skills they've gained at this great college, that they would play leading roles across our what is really nascent new government. So education is very, very important. Of course, India and Afghanistan, needless to say, have deep ancient civilizational ties. We've always had, as I discussed this morning, a strong friendship and relationship with India. There was only one exception, it was the time of the Taliban, when that relationship stalled. But right after the fall of the Taliban, that relationship has taken off. It is now a strategic relationship. We signed a strategic partnership agreement with India with different objectives in the political, security, defense, social, economic, and cultural, which includes, of course, events like this, cultural cooperation, higher education, which I discussed. Of course, there's much scope for cooperation within this framework of strategic partnership agreement. There's a lot to be done. There's a new government in Afghanistan in place, which looks forward to working with the new government, almost also new here in India, which is very forward-looking. Prime Minister Modi is someone who's very focused on helping not only India to rise up, but the whole of South Asia to rise up. He's so much focused on working with all South Asian leaders, or with our two leaders, President Ghani and Chief Executive Officer Abdullah, to operationalize SAARC, which has not been as active as it should be. The two leaders in Afghanistan are committed to working with India within the bilateral frameworks of cooperation, multilateral frameworks of cooperation, especially within SAARC, and as well as trilateral frameworks of cooperation. Now, especially as the United States and India have come closer to work on any number of issues, from security to climate change to addressing poverty and other such problems that we commonly have, including India-US cooperation in Afghanistan. So we look forward to working with these two critical partners. So I keep my remarks short there. I didn't want to speak from a prepared remarks. I spoke from heart. I congratulate all of you, all the students from different countries that you're here. Just the dynamism and the energy that you're imparting is really firing me up. And it's always a pleasure being with young, dynamic, hardworking, passionate students like you. I saw that on your faces and the ways that you rose your flags. And I know that each of you will go back, taking back whatever you've learned and memories, including your memories with Afghan students who've been through so much suffering. And I would say that each Afghan student could be 20 or 25, but they've matured a lot more given the kinds of suffering and hardships they've been through. And I'm sure that they've shared their experiences with you, and that you have shared your experiences with them, that all of you will stay in touch with the Afghan students, that when you're in positions of policy making and decision making and influencing world politics, that you would even do more in terms of cultural cooperation, in terms of bringing our peoples and nations together, and of course putting an end to war and violence, and of course networks such as ISIS, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and so forth. Because humanity is all about, tolerating each other, as we know from India, country with so much diversity. It's so impressive. That's why it is called incredible. So we can all learn from India. We can all take back those lessons and really apply them when we are in positions of leadership. I am at your service, not only Afghan students, but all the students who are here at my embassy and Delhi. Do reach out. We are on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, on name it, to make our services accessible on our website. And I look forward to working with our own students to expand and increase the number of students. And of course, across India, again, with thanks to the leadership of college and the Minister of External Affairs and my colleague from Sri Lanka, with a country that we have a great relationship. Our former presidents are best friends, President Rajapaksa and President Karzai, and of course our new president looks forward to visiting his new counterpart and Sri Lanka sometime soon. Thank you so much.